Hey guys, my name's Matt. This is my first YouTube video. I built a standalone GMRS repeater powered by a battery pack, 60,000 milliamp hours, using two Baofangs and a duplexer with some other odds and ends. I posted this on Reddit and had quite a bit of interest, a lot more than I thought, and that was kind of exciting. So a couple people asked me to make a video on how to build this. So I put together a video. I also signed up for an affiliate link program. I'm not sure how that works. So if you click on some of the links and buy what I used to build this, then maybe I can make a couple bucks. So I appreciate it. We just hit 5.1 miles radius, pinging the antenna out in the country before we lost line of sight. Got real hilly, but that gives us a over 10-mile circumference. So if you set this up in the middle of your base camp, your house, if you're out in the country, it doesn't work the greatest in the city. You lose, like I said, it's line of sight. But if you have clear line of sight, you get over 10 miles. Set it up camping, which I'll do. One of the reasons I built it, so I have communication with the communication with the family, wife, kids. A lot of campgrounds we use don't have much, if any, cell phone service. So you can mount this to the camper in your tents. I'm going to use it for hunting, stay in communication with the guys I hunt with. So yeah, battery pack. I'm guessing it's going to last, it could last over a week. So I'm really excited. This was my first real world test of the range out in the country. So over 10 miles. I'm happy. Alright guys, I think I have everything laid out for what I'm going to use. I got two different power packs here. I'm just going to use the big one. It's 60,000 milliamp hours. If you want, you can use pigtails for your radios. I'm not going to use those today. Also, you can use a USB hub if, for example, this one only has a USB-C, one of them out, so you could actually plug that hub in and then charge your radios at the same time. But I like this one because it's got a butt ton of USB ports on it, and 60,000 milliamp hours will last a very long time. I got my UHF cap, and then for your radios, what I'm doing is I'm using these little connectors. So it'll be an SMA female to UHF PL259 male. You're gonna need some goop. All the USB cables I got here, you're gonna use this. They attempted English, but it is a relay box, basically to convert this into a repeater. Alright, so here's my repeater. I bought it from twoway-radios.com. I had them tune it for 462 6000, 467 6000. It's good up to 50 watts. It's got your low, which will be your transmit. It's got your high, which will be your receive, and then your antenna. So more USB cables. So inside this box, I had already pulled apart the foam and everything. So once you get it laid out, you can figure out what pieces of the foam that you want to take out so your radios fit nice and snug. Also, I have a bunch of these. So these are just USB connections, waterproof, that you can drill into the side of the case. So you can see I have a USB-C, a USB-A, and my PL259 splitter or connection. If you don't have one of these, I highly recommend it. Step drill. If you go to your hardware store, it's going to cost you like $90 or $100 or something like that. It's kind of ridiculous, but I just got mine off Amazon. I use it all the time for projects. Also, some of this adhesive spray. This part up here is gonna, it's not gonna stick, so you're gonna want to spray the adhesive spray when you get the box, and it hasn't come undone yet. But I think that is everything we're gonna use for this right now. And these are Baofeng UV17Rs. I don't know if they're the Pro. They say they're the Pro, but I'm embarrassed to say I got them from a website that I won't ever use again. So I won't link these. But you can actually use any radio you want. One is set to receive. One is set to transmit. And I'll just screw these into here like that. So, all right, let's get started on building. All right, as we start piecing this together, I'm going to use, you see I have an SMA male out there. I'm going to use an SMA female to UHF PL259 out. I'll just call it UHF from now on because it's a lot to say. So I will just screw this in to the antenna out. I'm going to use a needle nose, and you're not going to want to make this tighten it too hard because it will break. I actually broke one because I tightened it too much earlier, but just want it a smidge over snug. So we're just gonna screw this on. It's kind of hard because it rotates with you turning it. All right. Kind of a pain. Another trick for this is, so I am on 462 6000. This is going to be my transmit radio. So I'm going to screw that into the low side. So if I put this on here, connect it, I'm going to just be able to screw it on there. Now you can actually tighten it like this a little bit until it's snug on the radio. Alright. Alright, I think it's gone. Alright, once you have it snug on the radio, unloosen that, and then you can tighten it down. Alright, so that's my transmit radio. I already have that connection put on there. I'm just going to screw it in. Alright, so these are kind of fragile, so you don't want to over tighten, at least on the radio side. You can tighten it pretty hard on the duplexer side. So that's what that setup looks like. It's pretty cool actually. Alright, so once you get this little piece, I'm actually going to drill one into the right side of my case, just in case I ever just need to go without a duplexer. So you're just gonna figure out where you want it, drill with the step drill. And you can figure out how much farther you gotta go. So one of the key to the step drill is you want to do it from both sides, or else you could actually get a hole that's too big. So I'm just going to drill it from, well, that doesn't look quite big enough. That looks like we're getting there. So I'm going to drill it in from the inside. Oh, where is it? So the hole gets even on both sides. Let's see, is that enough? That is enough. That was perfect. Okay. So just push that on in. And so what you're going to do, I like goop. I use it for everything. My boat, little projects if I need it, waterproof or anything. So I'm actually just going to line the outside of this with some goop. You don't got to use a whole lot, but we're just going to put that around the outside. Doesn't look amazing, but I'll just put that in here. Put it one more. All right. Grab a paper towel quick. Let's see if we can get that in there. we have to drill it just a tiny bit more. I forgot there's a little ring around there, so that should be good. So I'm going to put a little more goop on there, or on the outside. Oops. But screw it on in. There. Perfect fit. So once you got that in there, I just use self-tapping screws. So on the other side, I did a wood block just to make it a little more secure. Probably should do that, but on this side I'm just gonna tap it in with these screws and it'll stick out a little bit, and I'll add a wood block later. Might not even need a wood block, but alright, I'll finish that up and then we can take off. Alright, I got the 4 screws in. Also bought these connections, or these covers for these UHF. So that is officially completely waterproof. That goop is going to work amazing. It's very secure. I don't think I could pull it off if I tried. So you can see on the inside, you got screws sticking out. You can cut them off, but I guess it doesn't really matter for me. Or like I said, you can just cut a wood block, even make it more secure. So eventually I'll probably just, I will cut a wood block, but you don't need that right now. So for these, I also used goop on the outside, just to be sure. Yeah, just put a little goop on the rim. That way no water will get in. Alright, now's the fun part. We can start putting it back together. I'm actually going to use my 60,000 milliamp hour. That should keep these running for quite a long time. So this connection I have here is the USB-C on the outside. I'm sorry, I take that back. This connection I have is USB-C on the outside and inside. So I'm actually going to make sure that I know that that is a charging port for my battery. All right, so on the back of my radios, another reason I got these is they can be charged with USB-C. So I'm gonna run 2 USB-A to C's out of my power bank, 2 charged radios. So I'm gonna put those in here, put that in here. I'm also going to run a USB-A to USB-A, this one, to my power bank as well. So if you want to charge anything, you can just plug it into the side of the case. So I'm going to work on actually hiding the radios in here. So the other thing we need is this, I don't know, cheap Chinese transmitter or relay box for the radios. So you'll see on here, one is my receive, this cable. One is my transmit, which will be this cable. So I'm just going to stuff that box in here. Make sure my transmit cable comes up to the right radio. Make sure my receive comes up to the right radio. And I got my power cables. Got all my power cables for the radio, for if I wanted to charge something on the outside. And then to charge my box, I'm going to plug that into this USB-C right up here. So in the past I'd already pulled apart this foam kind of like how I wanted it to be. So we're just gonna, actually, we're gonna have to cut a little area out for this right here, but I'm not concerned about that right now. So we're just gonna slide this in, and we're gonna run all my power cables up to this little hole right here. So we're gonna do my USB-C, my power bank I'm gonna set right here, and then run these down through the hole too. And this foam is kind of neat. I've never actually used it before, so I got some guns I can make some cases for. I think that'd be pretty nice. But I'm just gonna run these cables through. I'm gonna do that quick. All right. Then I'm gonna plug in my USB-C to the power bank. All right, here we go. And the radio chargers. All right, I actually decided to use longer cables to connect to the radios because they were a little too short. So now I can run everything through here, and you can just bury it inside the case or underneath the mat. So I'm just going to run these. Sorry, this is taking a while. I could just cut it and move it to a different section. But just one of these. I'm going to roll them around and just run it to. Those are going to be connected to the radios. And then we have our antenna cable, which is going to come right through here. All right, so I'm also needing to plug this in to the port on the side, the USB-A port. So I'm just gonna lift that up, plug that into my port down here. So I got my USB-C charging my battery, USB-A to USB-A. This is my charger for the battery. Again, everything I use except I can't find this on Amazon anymore. I think they might have got rid of it, but all right, now we can lay this in here. So I have my antenna that's connected already to the outside of the box. I'm going to put that on my antenna connection on the duplexer. Tighten that up. Alright, so I have my radios I'll be charging. Put that on the back. Alright, let's see where that is. I just got to move to the other side. So we're going to plug that into the radios. USB-C, USB-C. Alright, so those both have power. This was my transmit from the little repeater box. I'm just going to plug that in here. Hide the cables underneath. And you can make it look really nice. This is just for the video. You can hide all the wires, but you can just stick those down there. Put them down here. I have the other connection that goes to my receive radio. Make sure those are nice and snug. You can bury the wires underneath. Alright guys, I just tidied it up a little bit, packed it in there pretty good with some foam. So you tighten this down. This it's not going anywhere. So let's do a function check on the ports. So I'm going to grab a USB cable, plug this in on the side, and I want to see if I can charge one of my other radios. I have a Baofeng GMRS something or other, but I'm just new to this, so I bought a lot of different radios so I can see. So we have a red light on there. It is working. It's charging. Let us see if we can charge the pack itself. So I'm going to grab the wall charger cable. Alright, so I'm going to plug this into this outlet right here. Do a function check, push it in to the USB-C, and you can see the battery pack is charging. So if we want to do a radio test, I just got this Nagoya magnetic antenna. I'm actually going to put it on my truck, but one of the things you can do is set it on an old cookie sheet, something to give it a ground plane, I believe it is. So we're just going to plug that in to our antenna on the outside, screw that in there. Then we can do a radio function test. I have my Baofeng F8H Pro or something, 8 watts. I actually really like it. Then I have a Rocky GMRS 5 watts. I really like that too. I'll be using this hunting or at the campground or something like that, but this will be in the truck. So let's do radio test. Radio test. So I do have some feedback, so because I'm so close, but radio test. Good copy. Alright, so everything's working. You can see this was receiving the signal, doing its thing in there, sending it to this to transmit. Everything went out of the antenna. Like I said, this is cheap, just don't overthink it. It does what I need it to do. It'll last a long time. If I'm in the woods, crap hits the fan, grid goes down, well, I got communication with my family, all my neighbors, so I have a solar system too that'll keep this thing charged indefinitely. So we're gonna go do a range test. Alright guys, I live in a small town in northwest Iowa. I'm heading out to the country to try to find a good open area so we can mount a pole. I have a couple antenna options. I bought a 30-foot pole. It's giant. My wife says it's just average, but I think it's a huge, nice, thick pole to put an antenna on. I put an Ed Fong antenna on that one, and I also have another pole. It's a 16-foot. I just bought that from Lowe's, and that is a NG something antenna. I'll show you more about that when I find a good spot to mount this antenna. Alright, it's quite windy today, but I did find a pole I can mount. So we're going to extend it to, I don't know, depending on the wind and how sturdy it is. And it's alright, just set it up. It's not at its highest height because I'll show you, it's bending pretty good. I got the repeater sitting right next to it, so let's go do some range tests. Alright, I am back in the car. I'm going to use 3 different radios with some antennas, so I'll show you what those are. I'll be using the Rocky Baofeng that is actually connected to that Nagya antenna on top of the car. Sorry, I'm not real familiar with everything. And then I'm going to be using my BF8H Pro. So right now we're sitting outside where I mounted the antenna. I'm going to do a radio test. Radio test. And that is coming in loud and clear, so the repeater is working. So, alright, I'm going to start driving. Alright, I'm driving in a valley in between hills, so I don't know if you can see that or not, but radio test. I am still getting good signal on my Rocky inside of the car. That's pretty wild. Radio test. Still getting the signal on the Baofeng BF8H Pro, loud and clear. Then I have this one connected on top of the car. Radio test. Wow, we're over 3 miles. The Baofeng with the pigtail connected to the antenna on top of the car is working awesome. So we're over 3 miles. gonna get up this hill and see where we're at. All right, guys, I am over 4 miles away. It has gotten extremely hilly, so I'm gonna try to get at the highest point I can find and see if we can get a signal, and then I'm gonna call it. I'm actually quite impressed over 3 miles, but obviously line of sight, can't go through hills, so I'm gonna see if I can get pretty high and see if I can get a good signal. All right, guys, I am officially 5.1 miles away from the repeater, and I am actually very impressed. I have to call it here because we're losing ground anywhere. Extremely hilly. Radio test, radio test. Radio test, radio test. Radio test, radio test. So, the GMRS radio I'm using, pigtailed to the top, does get great signal on my Rocky Talkie. I do not get signal on the Baofeng F8H Pro. Radio test. So I get a good copy on that. Radio test, radio test. Radio test, radio test, radio test. I am getting a little broken transmission on the Rocky Talkie, but I'll show you where my repeater is 5.1 miles that way. As you can see, the land hills have covered at our maximum range. So at least in this area, if you had completely flat and you put that thing on top of a hill, I bet you could easily go well beyond 5.1 miles. So yeah, I'm excited. This is pretty awesome. So all right, I found my antenna. That's pretty exciting. Over 20-mile-an-hour winds, 30 or more gusts. That thing held up pretty well. I'll give you the link, or the affiliate link to that if you want to help support me in more projects. But I'm going to pack everything up and then we'll break down what's been going on. I built this repeater mainly for crap hit the fan situation, out hunting, and using it for the family at the campground. It's cheap. Actually, the Duplexer is really nice. I didn't go cheap on that, but the radios and power pack, and I'm sure there's radio waves mixing in where they shouldn't be, and Baofeng radios have a bad name, but I build it for what I need. It works. Don't overthink it. It's my first YouTube video. Apologize if I use wrong terminology or anything. So I dived into radios for a crap hit the fan situation, and I was I'm sure a lot of us are a little disappointed in the range of radios nowadays. So I got my GMRS license, and once reality hit me on how far I can actually transmit with the radio, me, like many of you, realized we need a repeater. So I kind of MacGyvered it. A lot of people don't know who that is, but that's kind of that guy's kind of my hero when I was a kid. So I can put a lot of stuff together out of nothing. And like I said, don't overthink it. Don't go crazy. I know it's not cheap. I have my GMRS license, so don't worry about that. But yeah, it works awesome. We just got back 5.1 mile range. We hit a lot of hills at the end, so we lost line of sight. But 5.1 mile range. Do it yourself repeater, works awesome. Essentially, you got over 10 miles circumference. So I'm very excited. So if you want to help me out, I signed up for the affiliate thing. I don't even know how that works. I put in my information. So I will be linking everything I used on the YouTube video. So maybe I can get a couple bucks and start a new project. Appreciate it. And yeah, just do it. Who cares what all the douchebags say online? So I had a lot of fun building it.